Killer Mike, thank you so much for coming down and speaking with us. We truly appreciate it.
Man, thanks for having me.
Well, I want to talk to you about where we are right now, State Farm Arena. Who Are You, a campaign that you are heavily involved in. And you also have some members of your alma mater, Frederick Douglass High School, in the building. What's going on today?
Man, well, this is a passion project of my wife, Shayna, and then Michael and Shayna Renner Foundation. She believes in encouraging public school. She believes in encouraging home economics, non-traditional ways, wood shop, drafting. She just is a believer that public school provides you more than just reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we should be using that. So she reached out to our superintendent, Dr. Johnson, and she's like, hey, we need to do this. And that one idea turned into this bigger idea that works with Waves, that works with the Atlanta Hawks, and that works to inspire young people. Decide who you are young. Don't wait for people to tell you who you are.
Yeah.
And once you decide who you are, go on the path like Don Quixote. Find some windmills to fight. And that way you get to reassure you who you are, and you get to meet some challenges and opportunities that are going to grow who you are. So I married a wonderful woman. I married a brilliant woman, but I also married a woman who will tell you home economics class was one of the greatest classes for her because of what it taught her in terms of adulthood and what to deal in situations. I also work with a woman who uses her mind from the ground up, taught herself real estate and real estate development. So she wants these kids to know that, like our kids, you can choose college like our daughter, Mikey, at Hampton University, or you could choose Georgia Youth Build. Our son, Michael, is there. Whether it's a trades or whether it's post-secondary schooling, she wants kids to believe in themselves. So I'm here because my wife made me come, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate Atlanta Public Schools for entrusting Killer Mike to give the Mike message to my alma mater and North Atlanta. I appreciate the Atlanta Hawks for providing us space and providing us with people like Chef Gavin that are going to show these kids that you can do and be whatever you'd like to be using your talent and skills. And I love helping Atlanta in any way I can.
Can you talk about your personal path? Would you say that you had a traditional path or a non-traditional path to your success?
I was raised in a traditional household, non-traditionally. My grandparents raised me. Because my parents were teenagers when I was born. So it's very non-traditional. Kids, and in 75 when I was born, kids weren't even allowed to go to high school once they got pregnant. My mother never dropped out of high school. She stayed at Frederick Douglass, so I graduated Douglass twice. I graduated once on her hip, and then 18 years later, I graduated myself. My grandparents provided a perfect two-parent household for me, where I got to see two people living a normal life, but they raised me and my sisters in a big, mixed, multi-generational family. So I think that for me, I just want to show these kids that my unorthodox way of finding Killer Mike is normal, because there was no abnormality in the love I got. There was no abnormality in the encouragement I got. There was no abnormality in the challenges I got. Miss Ely, who told me, you're too smart to be a rapper. You should be an airplane pilot. Because of that, when I met Jim Berto at 15 years old, and he said, I want to give you an opportunity to learn to fly planes. He was a teacher at George High School who came up to me in summer school. He gave me that shot, and based on what Miss Ely had told me, I was challenged to do it. Because of that, I met Slim, the lead singer from 112. We learned to fly planes together, formed a relationship where he's still my friend until this day, still love and respect him. But if it had not been from that white teacher at George High School, Mr. Jim Berto, believing in these little wild black kids running around summer school, I wouldn't have got that. Years later, I was invited by our governor, Kemp, Brian Kemp. I was invited by him to a table full of executives from all over Georgia. And as I told that Jim Berto story, one of them knew Jim Berto and texted him, one of your former students is in here talking with you. That's the Atlanta way. That's my life. My life is about relationships, understanding other people's perspective and understanding, rising above who I thought I was into a better version of me. Because my friends were so good at the stuff they were good at, I knew I couldn't do. One of my friends, his father just passed. His father was one of the most famous basketball coaches in Georgia, Donald Dollar. His name was Cameron Dollar. Cameron Dollar won an NCAA championship in 1995. He told us he was going to do that in 1985. So I knew I didn't want to play basketball because Cam was too good. Chief Judge Osher Jackson in DeKalb County. He's been a friend since 11. I knew Osher was brilliant when we were 12 years old. Raheem Bia, professor over at Georgia Tech, over the technology department. Brilliant kid, grew up 3 doors from me. So I had a friendship circle of people who were so good at what they were good at. I found what I was good at, and that was singing and dancing. And I decided to do that. I didn't want to try to chase other people's dreams. So I want kids to wake up, look at themselves in the mirror and say, this is who I am. This is what I want to do, and then have the courage to pursue that. I want kids to be encouragers of one another. If your friend is really good at basketball, you go to his basketball games. But if your friend is really good at chess, you take your tall butt to his chess game, to his chess tournament, to and support.
Yeah.
Because that way we all become better. When my friends are better, I am better. And if you got 5 successful friends, if you hang around, you'll be the 6th one.
Like, say that.
You know, if you got 5 good ones, man, you mess around, you'll be the 6th one. You know, and that's what I'm about. So I'm here Because my grandmother told me a long time ago when we were campaigning for Andy Young, who has an amazing documentary out now called The Dirty Work. I asked her, why are we knocking on people's door, asking people to vote for Andrew Young? You said to make the community better. Well, why do we want to make the community better? Because that's what you're supposed to do. It's just that simple. This is what I'm supposed to do.
I love that. I want to ask you about the meeting that you touched on with Governor Brian Kemp.
Yes.
And just your influence
Yes.
within the music industry, within entertainment, but also within public policy.
Yes.
Right now in our country, we're seeing this big division, right?
Yes.
People don't want to talk to
Yes.
each other.
Yes.
You have spoken at conservative tables.
Absolutely.
You have campaigned for Bernie Sanders,
Absolutely.
who's a progressive, and all walks of life,
Absolutely.
right? What is your advice to people right now in this day to come together?
Find a friend or someone to build a relationship with that does not look like you, that is not of your same ethnic background, that does not have the same political beliefs, and that may be opposing some of your beliefs. Because when you get to know someone, it allows you to dissipate all the stereotypes you've been given. We come here free thinkers. We come here almost radical in our ability to love one another. And then we're given and injected with all these stereotypes, all these suspicions, all these fears by other people. But if you can get past those things and meet a person one-on-one, you'll find you have much more commonalities than you think you do. And once you find that, it becomes impossible to uphold a stereotype. So I don't care if you got a Dixie flag on the back of your Ford pickup. I don't care if you listen to rock and roll or Waylon Jennings and you talk real country and southern. I know that you give a as a neighbor if my yard is cut and if my lawnmower's broke, I'd hope you've offered me an opportunity to use yours, because I would do that for you. I want us in the South especially to start to see ourselves as one class of people in terms of we're just neighbors here. And we have the ability to make this region better for us, better for our children, better for future generations. We don't do that if we only seek to be on the winning team. Politics and social policy is not the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington Redskins or now the Commanders. What it is a brand new, well, it's not even a brand new concept. It's best used when Americans see themselves as Americans who have the ability to help one another. James Baldwin talked about that. Maya Angelou talked about that. Dr. King himself talked about that. Andy Young, Maynard Jackson. And if I don't live up to those expectations of being a stitch that unites us, then I fail. My great-grandmother, who I sat at her legs as she took scraps of clothing from all the family members. You would go to her house in the summers, you would take your old clothing, she would cut that clothing up, and she would make these elaborate quilts. What I realized is that the quilts that she was threading together in the different materials were to, as a family, keep us together. So if I didn't see my cousin June, I knew that this sweater was a part of her, and it would make me think of my cousin. My grandmother has been dead, my great-grandmother has been dead since 1984, and those quilts are still in our family to this day. And I want to be that thread in that quilt that is Atlanta, that's the South, that's this nation. So I would challenge Americans to have hard conversations with one another without trying to win an argument, but to simply understand. And just because you understand doesn't mean you agree, but it means I finally understand. And I think that if we get to that place, then this republic and this country is as great as it's ever been and on the road to being greater than it ever thought it could be. If we don't, it's going to lead to our demise.
Thank you so much for that. Being
Absolutely.
mindful of the time, one last question if I have the time for it. What is the biggest need right now in our country?
The biggest need right now is for us to conversate. Now, I know that's not a real word, but you can check out my podcast because I talk about it a lot on there, Conversate with Killer Mike. We need to be talking, not at each other, not through each other, but to each other. We need to be listening, but not listening to respond, but listening to understand, to gain different perspective. And we need to be trying to figure out the problems very early of education in this country. We have to get back to what public education was in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Everyone has access to it. Their kids get to go outside and have physical fitness. The arts and the trades are part of the public school education system. We have to get back to that because we, in the next 20, 30, 40 years, other countries are going to be aiming at us. They want to knock us off our block. Maybe they don't want the USA to be number one at the Olympics or in the world. But we have an opportunity if we cooperate and collaborate to remain the greatest republic in the world. And the only way that happens is if we conversate. Colloquial word there.
Conversate. I like it.
If we conversate and have conversations with one another, that's going to grow our country.
All right, conversate, adding it to the dictionary.
Yeah,
that's going to be the word of the
our
year.
goal. That's our 10-year
word
goal.
of the year 2026.
That's our goal. Conversate.
Killer Mike, thank you so much.
I appreciate you greatly.
Truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.